We've got barbecue back here. You're all invited. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing all right, Jared. Doing all right. How you doing today?
You know what? I'm doing okay. Ohio State, Michigan State. We're going to review the game. We're going to talk about the game. We're going to grade the positions. And I'm making a deliberate effort to try to get into the show sooner. Because YouTube stuff. So, full beatdown. Yes, Spikes. A full beatdown. Are we going to worry about there only being 3 points in the second half? No, we aren't. When you score 35 in the first, you're kind of a dickhead if you try and score 35 in the second. Would that have made my score prediction get a lot closer? Sure. Minus special teams. There's another position group I'm gonna rip into, Spikes, when it comes time. There's another position group I'm gonna rip into.
Yeah, but the important thing though, Jared, that Ohio State got the cover. That's the important thing, right?
Right. That's the important thing. Ohio State does cover. With a few points left over. Not a lot left over, but a few points left over. Yeah. The other team gives up trying to put up points too. I couldn't tell the difference, Gangland. If they quit trying to score points, I couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing here. Yeah, as Jared said, Ohio State scored 35 points in the first half, only scored 3 in the second half. But to me, what I looked into this game, I mean, yeah, McCord had himself a great game, 77% completion, 3 touchdowns, over 300 yards in this game. Fantastic game. This is the kind of game that hopefully it's going to be that morale booster for McCord here. Looked really well in the pocket. The offensive line gave him plenty of time, and we saw when he had plenty of time, he was very, very accurate. Looking at the stats here, Jared, 9 targets to Marvin Harrison Jr., 7 completions. 7 targets to Cade Stover, 7 completions. Like, yeah, his two main targets, he was pretty much dead on with those 2 there.
Yeah, he did struggle getting it to the other wide receivers a bit. Emeka's not right yet, and then he does hurt himself again in this game where he comes off the field limping. I think he comes back in the game. I don't think that was his last play, although I don't remember 100%. Not that it matters, because we can't ever get a decent injury report out of Ryan Day or Ohio State anyway. Look like a tweak, if anything. Yeah, I mean, yeah. But I think I'm not saying like he totally I'm not saying it was a break. Yeah, I'm just saying it was like he hasn't looked right since he came back. No, he is not. And that's the point. Like, if he didn't, nothing even happened on that play other than him running. So if he retweaked it on that play, then he wasn't right to begin with. I don't think he's going to be right this season. I think is probably the unfortunate truth of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a lot. I mean, lot of great things to take from this game here. Talked about how good McCord looked, how good Marvin Harrison Jr. looked. He had himself 3 touchdowns in this game. It's going to help him with his Heisman numbers there. But I still think he needs that signature moment or that signature game, which he has the opportunity here in 2 weeks here.
Yeah, if he wants to win the Heisman, he's going to have a similar game, but against not State.
Yeah. But when I look into this game, though, yeah, everybody was thrilled with the offense here, but the defense here, going into this game, we weren't worried about Michigan State's offense. Like, we knew they didn't really pose much of a threat offensively, and the defense stood up here. 182 yards allowed for the entire game. 88 in the air, 94 on the ground, and just looking at the numbers here, Jared. So if I go to comparisons here, Let me move the quarter in halves. In the second half, Sparty had only 64 yards in the second half. When Ohio State wasn't even trying. They put in their second string. They put in a bunch of other players there and only let up 64 yards. And 7 of those 64 yards was in the fourth quarter. Yep. Only 7 yards in the fourth quarter allowed. And that's usually when you see maybe a team usually maybe gets a late touchdown or a late score or whatever, because you have the second or third string in, just trying to get some players some experience here. But garbage time, yeah. But only 7 yards in that fourth quarter there. Yeah. Very, very, very impressed with the defense as a whole here.
Spike says that was yards. The worst offense we faced all year. That includes Youngstown State. I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong.
I tell you what, there were moments we were concerned a little bit about Ohio State's rush defense there. Both of their running backs, Carter and Mangum. Carter and Mangum got some movement going at times. Carter had almost 5 yards a carry, and Mangum had 4 yards a carry. But in the end, they needed to pass in order to beat Ohio State, and not going to beat Ohio State when you only complete the ball 50% of the time and less than 100 yards.
We have a serious issue with the rush defense, and Gangland says Eichenberg is our rush defense most games. I'm not even going to put it. Eichenberg doesn't play in this game. Josh Proctor doesn't play in this game. And of course, Ransom doesn't play in this game. I'm not going to say that was a huge deal in this game. Ripped off decent runs early in drives, then would stall out. I mean, yeah, because they're a bad team. Even when they'd make some good plays, they'd make stupid mistakes or totally misexecute on a play, and then it would kill their drive because they're a bad team with a bad offense. I mean, that's how that works. Mm-hmm. Offense, when you're facing even a decent defense, offense is about consistency and not getting behind on schedule. It's just what it is. And Ohio State is a good defense, and Michigan State is not a good offense. But I think it comes down to Knowles making bad play call or two on those long drives. He said, so Penn State popped off a few big runs against this. Knowles makes $2 million a year and has earned that and more. He's totally secured his job. When it goes bad, because he's a good coach and a good leader and not Deion Sanders, he's going to take the blame. He's just straight up going to take the blame. That's what he's going to do. I respect him for it, but we need to start having a serious conversation about the rush defense. The defensive line gives up way too much ground. And am I bringing this up partially because I just watched Michigan they technically did call a pass play in the second half, but it didn't count because it got called back on a penalty. So if we don't count the one pass play that they did call that technically didn't count, Michigan didn't pass the ball in the second half against Penn State. They did not throw it once. So when I watch Ohio State's defensive line get blown off the ball by a couple yards against a Michigan State team that's not very good, against a Rutgers offensive line that's fine, against the Wisconsin offensive line that is not a Wisconsin offensive line as we are used to thinking about them, and then Michigan, who's won 2 straight offensive line of the year awards. And I don't think their offensive line is as good as this year as it was last year, but it's still really, really good. Mm-hmm. I'm very, very concerned about this defense's ability, because I don't care how good your play calling is. I don't care what your scheme is. If you're going to get beat that bad, offensive line versus defensive line, it's going to go poorly. And I think Ohio State look at Penn State as an example. I think Ohio State got bailed out by some bad play calling. Mike Yurstich, by the way, got fired from Penn State on Sunday. They just kept running the ball at us. I think they have a much better game. My point is that, it's really nice to get this game out of the way and put up a bunch of points and have this is the first time we've played a pass defense that wasn't exceptional. We had 3 or 4 weeks in a row playing excellent pass defenses. And now we played kind of a pedestrian pass defense, and we saw what we can do against that. The pass defenses and the defenses in general in the Big Ten, not counting Sparty, are very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so many people right now are worried about the offense, which I am not. Again, I tried to tell people, Rutgers, Wisconsin, Penn State, these guys have really good pass defenses. The fact that Kyle McCord looked like a human and not a superhuman against them was not a cause for concern for me at any point. Meanwhile, everyone keeps slobbering all over the defense. The offensive line has sneakily gotten better through the course of the year. They had a really good game this game. The offensive line looked really good this game. And I think no one wants to talk about, because we like them all as individuals. We all like Jack Sawyer, and we all like JT. We all like Tyleek, and we all like Mike Hall. But the fact of the matter is, when a defense just lines up and runs it straight at Ohio State, they can chip us apart 5 yards at a time. And if they try, and Michigan is not afraid to just take those 5 yards all the way down the field. And that's exactly what they're going to try to do.
And there are times, there are times where Ohio State's defensive line stands up and makes great plays, tackles right at the line, yard for loss, but they can do it. It's just kind of like what we talked about the offense all year, is that consistency. Can the defensive line consistently be that brick wall here? And we've seen throughout the year, the answer is no right now. Can they when they've made a lot of great stops, especially in the red zone. We've heard a lot about their third down defense is really good this year, but it's to me you got to be very consistent here, and they haven't been.
Michigan State's Carter rushes 4.7 yards per carry against Ohio State. Monangai for Rutgers, 6.6 yards per carry against Ohio State. Allen, before he got hurt, ran 5 yards per carry. 5 yards per carry against Ohio State. Nick Singleton rushed 5.3 against Ohio State. Why they only gave him the ball 9 times is, I think, a reason why Mike Yurstich got fired.
I don't understand. Like
Maccabee at Purdue rushed 6.1 yards per carry against Ohio State.
So Monangai the previous weekend, as Jared mentioned, 6.6 yards, 24 carries, 159 yards. This last weekend against Iowa, 13 carries, 39 yards.
Yeah. Iowa has an exceptional, anyway. Ohio State's defense is built for speed, and it's built to beat and hang with SEC teams. The problem is that when you face a team that's willing to put out 5th year, 330-pound 6'6" offensive linemen and then flank them with third, fourth, fifth year, 6'6", 280-pound tight ends, it starts to get a little difficult. And I don't know what the answer to that is. The offense is going to have to win the Teton game. Spikes, I think that's what I'm saying. And they're going to have to do so in an incredibly efficient manner because I don't know how many chances they're going to get. Keep them to 3 and outs. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how. They need to and I have all the confidence in the world that he will be, but you need to get Eichenberg back. You need to get Josh Proctor back. I really like the way Hartford has played in stead of Josh Proctor. I think Hartford is hanging. He's absolutely doing everything he can. And I think he right now, from a pass protection standpoint, is doing fantastic. And I really, really like him. He's manned the position, but he isn't Proctor, is what Spike said. And I think he's absolutely doing everything Proctor can do in the secondary. He at this point in his career, and he's a second-year player, he's a redshirt freshman. He doesn't come up and run support like Proctor does. You need Eichenberg and you need Proctor back. I don't think you're getting Ransom back, but I don't think there's much, if any, drop off to Styles. So, you need Eichenberg back. You need Styles in the game. You need Proctor in the game.
Yep.
He'll be fantastic, but now on iffy on run support. I mean, I don't even want to say he's iffy. He's just not. He's small. Yes, Gangland. Thank you. I think that's what I'm trying to say. He's small. That's it. He's just, he'll get bigger. Again, he's only a second-year guy. I think his future is incredibly bright, but he's just not going to throw his nose into the pile the way Proctor does. And if he does do it, that's not going to be as effective.
What's curious, just looking at last year's game here with Ohio State and Michigan. There was a couple of drives that Michigan had 7+ minute drives
under old clock
game.
Rules.
Mm-hmm.
Under old clock rules.
Yeah, and there were long drives too. Like the one here, 15 plays, pretty much 8 minutes off the clock there. Yeah, you got to be able to stop the run here.
Yep,
you got to get that. You got to get that fixed quickly here.
I mean, I don't know how you get that fixed. I don't know how you get that fixed. Other than just playing better. Playing tougher. Luckily, right. I'll say this, and I know we're not even talking about Michigan State at this point, but what is there to talk about? Ohio State, Marvin Harrison, they just ripped him apart in the first half and then put it in cruise control in the second half. But I don't know. It's everyone's been so concerned about the offense lately. And I think I'm more concerned about the defense. In preparation for the Michigan game, I'm much more concerned about the defense. Again, because
which is surprising with the start of the year here, where we weren't worried about the defense and in the offense, and now here we are in November, and it's kind of the opposite now.
Sitting here in November, 99% of Ohio State fans still feel that way. 99% of Ohio State fans going into the Michigan game will be much more worried about Kyle McCord than they are about the defensive line. I think Kyle McCord is way better than fans think, and part of me thinks the defense isn't nearly as good as we think. Or at least if I were to say this instead, I don't think we match up well against Michigan defensively. Maybe that's not the same as saying that they aren't as good. Maybe, yeah. And again, if Penn State had just kept giving the ball to Nick Singleton, that game would have been a lot closer. Michigan's not going to make that mistake. Just straight up, Michigan's not going to make that mistake.
Anything else about the Michigan State game?
Yeah. I thought Hartford played great in replacement for Josh Proctor.
Yeah, Hartford played great. Styles played great.
Styles had a very good game.
Tyleek had a really good game too. Cody Simon in replace of Tommy Eichenberg. I cannot talk. I wanted to say Tommy Pickles, but Tommy Eichenberg. I thought he did pretty well. Obviously, missing Eichenberg, I think, had a lot to do of why Michigan State had some success in the run game.
Totally disagree.
But yeah,
this has been an issue going at least back to Purdue, and Eichenberg played in all of those games.
Yeah, I thought overall there was quite a few players who stood up that really impressed me on the defensive side.
I'm only concerned about Ransom at this point in terms of injuries. I'm gonna tell you not to worry about Ransom, and not because there's good news coming. And I'll just leave that at that.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and move into the grades then, Jared.
Let's move into the grades.
All right, first one here, coaching staff. I'll give an let's say an A- for me. I'll say an A- for me. I'm giving them minus mainly for, I think, on the defensive running side of it needs to be better, and special teams. I don't know what it is about the special teams, but the special teams just really worries me coming in 2 weeks here. It's very concerning to me that the special teams could be the cause of a touchdown here.
Yeah, and the fake punt, like everyone knew that was coming.
Yeah. Yes.
What? I mean, I'll go along with the minus part of your A based off of the fake punt alone.
Mm-hmm.
Quarterback play. I'll go first. I mean, for the first time this year, I'm gonna give Kyle McCord not just the A, but the A+. Oh, what did I just do?
You zoomed.
I did zoom. There we go. This is the Kyle McCord we've been waiting to see all season. See, here's the thing. Kyle McCord's been getting better and better. He got better and better and better all through October. And I just don't think people saw it because, again, Rutgers has a really good pass defense. And I know we're just not used to thinking of Rutgers being good in any way, but that's not true. They have a lot of bright spots on that team. Wisconsin has an incredible secondary. Penn State has an incredible secondary. Ohio State played a lot of teams recently with really, really good secondaries. And I just don't think we were seeing, if you weren't watching closely, if you weren't watching correctly, you maybe just weren't seeing Kyle McCord get better. But Kyle McCord was getting better all through October. And I think he is starting, I don't want to say peak, but maybe his season peak is coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll give it an A+. I'll give it an A+. Well, I can't really think of anything off to dock him here. I know we mentioned in our pregame here is that McCord has been turnover prone recently. 0 turnovers in this game, very accurate. Like I mentioned, 77% accuracy in this game here. Yeah, A+. A+ in my book.
One thing he is going to have to get better at, unfortunately, is performing with a rush on him. One of the reasons why he was so good in this game was because the offensive line kept him so clean. Partially because Michigan State's defensive line isn't that good. And then even with the talented guys that they do have on that defensive line, they kept getting dinged up all game. So they weren't even playing at full speed. So in order to get pressure on anytime they got pressure on Kyle McCord, it's because they sent a crazy blitz at him. And he is going to have to get better at performing with guys coming at him. But he looked really good in this game, largely because the offensive line kept him so clean. His first or second pass could have been picked. Safety was sitting on the route. Didn't he air that one on purpose? Like, I think he saw it and like purposefully threw it high. Am I remembering that correctly, Spikes? I think he sailed that one on purpose.
Might be.
I'm not 100% sure. No, it deflected off the wide receiver. Okay, we're thinking of a different pass then. Well, if it hit the wide receiver, then... Oh, the one that ended up being a PI. Okay, I know what you're talking about now. Running backs.
I'll give an A. I thought I really liked what I saw out of Henderson. Henderson still a monster. Xavier had some great runs there. An A. I really like the running backs here.
I'm gonna do an A-. I don't really know why. I mean, I think Trey probably would have had more had they given it to him more. They kept him on a pitch count on this game. No reason to risk him. Probably not fair to give him the minus, but I'm gonna give the minus. It could have been a better day.
All right.
Hayden gets carries next week? ? Next week, no. I mean, if they're trying to preserve his red shirt, right? So you save him for Michigan. That's game number 2. Then in an ideal world, you still have 3 games after that in an ideal world. Because you have the conference title game, the first round of the playoff, and then the national championship game. So you're definitely not going to use one on Minnesota.
Yep.
Because he's already used one game, and you kind of have 4 games you want to hold him back for, and you can only use him in one of those, or you can't.
Yep.
Yeah, you can't use him in one of those. Rather,
offensive line here. Maybe the first time I'm doing this here, Jared. A+.
Yeah, I agree.
A+ here. Zero sacks in this game. I think there was only 4. I think there was about 4 plays that ended up being 0 yards on the rushing side there. Offensive line did exactly what they needed to. This is the first time that they're very consistent here.
Yeah.
Very happy what I saw from the offensive line.
Yeah, I don't ever remember Kyle McCord getting pressured except when Michigan State sent like 2 or more blitzers. I'd really have to go back and watch the game to confirm that. First time I've seen them get to the second level consistently. Ironically, Evan Pryor almost on the very last play of the game, the down the field, like there's an entire lane ready for him, and someone on the Michigan State defense just got their hand on him right when he was sort of going through the line. If he'd have made it to the second level, he was gone.
Mm-hmm.
You could see, I mean, I'm a nerd. I watch the offensive line most of the time, and you could see the pathway being laid out in front of him. It was there.
tight end here.
I really don't want to water down the A+, but how can you not here? Tight ends
you're right.
also.
I wrote A, but yeah, you're right. A+. A+ for the tight end here.
A monster number of catches for Cade Stover. Thurman gets in the game late and looks pretty good. And then again, you talk about down the field blocking and second level blocking and the offensive line looking good. We also have to talk about the tight ends because, like, at this point, like,
Scott, you're talking about the down the field blocking. Scott made some great blocks down the field.
Scott's practically a fullback at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great, and by the way, it is truly the year of the tight end. Like, we always joke about year of the tight end, and then of course it never ends up being the year of the tight end, but it's actually the year of the tight end. It actually is Yodi. The prophecies were true. It is Yodi. This time it is for real. Cade Stover is within decent striking distance of getting the yardage record for a tight end in a season, coming up on Ricky Dudley. I thought I saw Austin say in the Discord he's like 160 some yards off or something like that. Cade Stover's having a hell of a year. 164 Gangland says.
A lot. It's a lot.
And like, if you were, you're coming into the season and you're like, it's going to be it's obviously going to be a Marvin Harrison year, and it's going to be a Emeka Egbuka year. Emeka Egbuka hasn't looked right this year. He suffered an ankle injury pretty early on. He just hasn't been himself. It has not been the year that Emeka Egbuka wanted for himself, let alone that we've wanted for him. It's not his fault. It's football. Shit happens.
Yep.
And Cade Stover has become the second guy on a team filled with 5-star wide receivers. The second target on this team is Cade Stover.
And Jared, I think I called that shit at the beginning of the year. I think I called that McCord's going to favor the tight end, mainly Cade Stover. I believe I called that. It's your new quarterback's safety blanket, and that's the big tight end,
especially for a quarterback that's not mobile. Like Cade Stover is the prototypical safety blanket for a quarterback like McCord, like Kyle McCord. Because like with CJ Stroud, I feel like CJ Stroud's safety blanket often would be to scramble out and do a scramble drill and look for someone on the sideline. I feel like that was his safety blanket as a young guy.
Yep.
Speaking of which, CJ Stroud, holy hell. But we're not going to get sidetracked into that conversation.
Let's move on to
absolutely. But yeah, Kyle, you're absolutely right. For a quarterback that's not CJ Stroud and isn't mobile like CJ Stroud, the safety blanket oftentimes is the tight end.
Yep. All right. Wide receivers here. I mean, it heavily favoring the performance from Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm A- for me for the wide receivers. Marvin had himself a fantastic game here. He seems to do really well against Michigan State. Tate is really starting to come out of his shell here. We're starting to see a lot more of Tate. Fleming made a couple of catches in this game. Always great to see Fleming getting into the game here and making some plays. And yeah, we'll see about Emeka and see how close to 100% he can get here in the next couple weeks. But yeah, A minus. I can't say too much negative about the wide receivers here. So A minus.
Xavier Johnson's one reception. Was that that wasn't like a down the field throw, was it? That was like that was the wheel route. Yes.
Well, let's look here.
So
it
it
was short. Yeah, it was in the second quarter there.
So he was
short right pass. Yeah, that was the wheel route.
Making the point that he was playing running back when he made that play. Yes. He was being running back X on that play and not wide receiver X on that play. Yes?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. So I just want to clear that up. Receiving. Number 1 in receptions, wide receiver. Tied for number 1 in receptions, Cade Stover. Then a running back. Then Tate, who got his catches late. Well, at least one of the catches was late. A tight end, a running back, a wide receiver, a running back, a wide receiver. I'm sorry, we are grading based off of expectations, and the wide receiver room feels like one guy right now. And this should be, in its entirety, an amazing unit.
Well, in all fairness, too, is this because Marvin Harrison is just getting that open?
It's not stopping Cade Stover from getting catches.
That's fair.
And like we can give Emeka a pass because of his injury, but like
so you take Emeka out, like that, you're grading them lower. So if you're saying you take out Marvin, you're excluding Mecca.
I'm not excluding Mecca. Mecca only had one catch for 12 yards.
Yeah, you're making it sound like it's one receiver then that's not performing. Like if you have three main receivers, Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka, and
Julian
Fleming, you're kind of pointing the finger that it's Fleming's needing to step up. Then.
Xavier Johnson plays wide receiver out there all the time, but whenever he ends up getting a decent catch, it's when he's playing running back. So it's also pointed at Xavier Johnson. And a lot of other guys who are out there getting reps at wide receiver, getting rotated in. I'm sorry, the wide receiver room, based off of recruiting stars, should be the best in the country. And right now, it just looks like the Marvin Harrison show. So I'm only going to give the wide receivers a B, because I need to see production out of wide receivers whose name isn't Marvin Harrison. If you're going to start, I'm not going to give him anything above a B unless a second wide receiver starts to wow me and get production.
All right, fine. We're going to move on here. Moving on to the defensive side, the defensive line. Talked quite a bit about the defensive line and the rushing attack here, or the rush defense side. I'll give a C. It's average. Definitely could be a lot better. They did held Michigan State to 3.2 yards per carry, but if you take the two running backs, yeah, they averaged about 4.3 yards. Not where it needs to be, but when it comes to the pass rush on it, they're one of the best in the country there. Even if it doesn't result in a sack, they get the pressure, they get the throw early here. So I'll give a C.
Spike says in the chat, they have to blitz to get run stops consistently. When they don't, they get gashed. And by the way, it's the same thing on the pass right now. Quite frankly, it's the same thing on the pass. They're not getting decent pass rush with any consistency without a blitz either. Again, based off of recruiting stars and based off of expectations, they're not meeting them. And I already, and by the way, they haven't been for a while. I already went down through the list of the running backs with over 5 or near 5-yard carry per averages against them. The defensive line's not playing well, which is crazy because I like all of them individually, but something's not clicking. Something's not clicking. I don't know what it is. I like all of them individually. I like I wouldn't replace a single one of them. But something's not working. And I don't know what that something is. The guys are not meeting expectations.
All right. Linebackers, I thought they did well enough without Tommy Eichenberg. So I give a B for the linebackers. Nothing spectacular, but nothing that really hurt Ohio State as well too. So I think a B is fair.
Yeah, I think a B is fair. I think I'll actually add a plus onto it simply because Eichenberg didn't play.
Yeah.
So that lowers the grade based off of expectation. Eichenberg not playing lowers the expectation a little bit. So the younger linebackers looked better with reps. It's a problem Ohio State's going to have to deal with because Eichenberg's off to the NFL after this season. I'm sure, I assume. Steele is going to be gone. Cody Simon may or may not be gone. And no one else at linebacker has been getting serious reps. So
yeah, a concern we'll worry about for next year.
Yeah.
Corners. A. I'll give the corners an A. Really like what I saw from Hancock. Matthews, I thought did really well. Igmanosin, still really, really good stud here. Yeah, really. And Burke had himself an okay game, but I think Igmanosin and Matthews,
okay game.
I think and Hancock were the standouts to me.
Kyle, what do we always say about corners?
Yeah, no stats equals good.
Yeah, it's we saw them take a couple shots against Denzel Burke early in the game.
Yeah, that's
Denzel
fair.
Burke had a great
That's
tackle
fair.
for loss on I don't know, it was like a screen or a swing or something, which in all fairness was really Hancock's play. Hancock blew that play up, and Burke, to his credit, was in position to clean it up. And then they tried throwing against them a few times, and it wasn't happening, so they just stopped trying.
Yeah. All right. So you gave him an A as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Safeties, A as well. You're without Proctor in this game here, and they didn't miss a beat. To me, they did not miss a beat at all. Really, really like what I saw from I am drawing
Hartford.
a blank on his name here. Hartford, yes. Hartford. Very impressed what I saw from Hartford in this game. Really, really impressed though. So
what was the longest play, Gangland asks? You look that up for a second. I'll give my explanation on the safeties. Everything Kyle said, I'm actually gonna throw in the plus. I'm gonna look up I'm gonna go with the A plus on this one again because Ohio State was playing with their third and fourth safeties. So like with Eichenberg, it lowers the expectation slightly, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna throw in that A plus. When you have to throw in a redshirt freshman who's your fourth safety in and start, and it feels like you don't miss a step. Yeah, I'm gonna go A plus on that.
Okay. 27-yard. 27-yard was their longest play.
That's not bad. And
that was a rush. Their longest pass was in the first quarter, 20 yards. But then outside of that, their longest pass was like 11 yards.
Right. Ohio State.
And that 20 yard was the one where Burke played 10 yards away. Looked like he was expecting help on the inside there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It could have been
right,
seven
and,
even.
Yeah. And special teams, D+ to me. Like it's, I said it earlier here. There's just something very wrong with our special teams right now. And I have a feeling that they could be the cause of a unwanted touchdown here. Like there's just something going on here that I'm very, very concerned with here.
I'm not going to go that hard on them. I'm not going to go that hard. I'm going to go with a C.
Yeah. Z Spike said you should.
I share your anxiety with the special teams. I just don't think they did anything that horribly egregious in this game to warrant a D. I keep mixing up our stuff on the graphic for some reason. C feels better. I mean, I get what you're saying, but again, like there was no, if I'm going to give him a D, then like there needs to be like a turnover or a shanked punt or a muffed punt or like they have to have actually done something to really screw up.
Well, they missed a field goal.
I know, but it wasn't like an egregious miss. It wasn't like it was a 30-yarder, and it wasn't like it was some sort of horrible shank. You know what I mean? Just do something above normal. Thank you, Gangland. I totally agree with the phrase, just do something above normal. And right now they're just exceptionally nothing, which I think is what C is.
C is average. C is average. C is normal.
C's not average.
So
C is not average.
Okay. All right, let's move on to our Buckeye leaves. So those are our grades. We'll move on to our Buckeye leaves here, and we'll start on the offense here. Got to give it to the Heisman candidate here, Marvin Harrison. Got to give it to Marv.
Yeah, I don't disagree. How could you disagree? I'm gonna go Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord's starting to come into his own. I think we're starting to see the Kyle McCord that we wanted to see. And again, I know I've said this probably twice already this episode. I'm gonna say it again. While everyone was doubting him and everyone was saying, why aren't you being perfect during October when they were playing amazing, not October, the Rutgers was in November, but you get my point. He's playing a great pass. There's the defenses in the Big Ten are so good this year. They're so good that even Rutgers' pass defense is really good. And Wisconsin's pass defense is really good. And Penn State's pass defense is really good. And people just expected Kyle McCord to go out there and look like against those defenses what he looked like against Michigan State's defense. Which is what most college passing defenses look like. And Kyle McCord it's iron sharpening iron. And when everyone was thinking he was underperforming, he was getting better. He was facing incredibly tough competition and he was getting better. Do you want to peek when it's AP poll ranking or college football rankings? Yeah, that's the other thing. I do think Ohio State's offense is like starting to. Yeah, I get what you're saying and I agree, Gangland.
All right, let's move on to the defense here then.
our fan base. They want 100% peak. That's not a peak. That's a plateau.
Yeah.
And then they would complain, why aren't we getting better?
Defensively, I'm going to give mine to Hartford. I know I gave them some crap the previous game here, but against Michigan State, played very well, very impressed with them. So I'll give my Buckeye leave to Hartford.
Spike says Styles is his pick, which is also my pick. Yeah, I thought Styles he's nasty, good blitzing. Yeah. Both pass and run blitzing, which I don't know if enough people realize are totally different skill sets. But he's handling both of them exceptionally. He's stepped in for Ransom, and like I said, the defense hasn't really even no offense to Ransom. I think Ransom's great. I wish we had him still, but Ohio State's defense really hasn't lost a step.
Yeah,
and he's just 18. God, that's something to think about.
And the wild card, I'll give mine to McCord. Thought he had a hell of a game here. Type of game that's really should boost his confidence here. So, yeah, I'll give mine to McCord.
Yeah, my wild card's actually going to Hartford for reasons Kyle already explained. For reasons I already explained when I gave the safeties an A+. Redshirt freshman, I don't think anyone was anticipating he'd be getting serious playing time right now. But the two starting safeties get hurt. You get down to the third and the fourth safety. And again, he's stepped in and done exceptionally well.
Yep. All right.
Spikes wants to give his wild card to Stover.
Hey, that's a good one too. That's a good one too. You come back from injury, 7 catches. What was that? 7 catches, has a touchdown in there, 79 yards. Yeah. Hell of a response coming back here.
And by the way,
Farmer strong, stiff arm. Yeah.
He had a case of the drops earlier in the season, and we haven't seen that recently. So,
nope.
Hey, it's easy to let something like that catch up with you mentally, and he didn't do it.
You know what the wild card should have been, Jared? We've talked zero about it.
Yeah, Spikes.
Those gray uniforms.
I don't. You're the one that likes to do the abstract wild card sticker helmets. I never do that, but that would have been like a you thing to do.
Yeah.
Here's my one note on the gray uniforms. The silver helmet doesn't look right with the gray uniform, in my opinion. I would really like to see a matte gray helmet.
Mm-hmm.
I think they need to complete the look. Do like I said, like a matte gray helmet to match the jerseys, because you just have the gray on the uniform, which is obviously not shiny. I don't want it to be shiny. If you made it shiny, it would be slick and you'd have fumbles.
Yeah.
But I want the helmet to better match the uniforms. So they either need to go totally off brand and do like a black or a red helmet, maybe do some bright red shoes and bright red helmet and some bright red gloves to sort of contrast the gray, or you totally lean into the gray, but do not silver helmets, but gray helmets. That's a fashion corner with Jared and Kyle.
All right, moving on quickly we have just a few Ask Sloopcast questions here. Let's see here. First question we have here is, who is the Heisman frontrunner?
You're asking a pair of Ohio State podcasters who their Heisman frontrunner is. Are you expecting us to be unbiased? Because that's a silly expectation. Say Jaden Daniels, I dare you. Jaden Daniels is, I'm not gonna say he's the deserving person for the Heisman, but I think he's worthy of the Heisman. And these aren't my rules; these are Heisman rules. This is how Heisman voting goes. They're not going to give it to him because LSU has 3 losses. Yeah, when you're a quarterback, you can't have 3 losses and still win the Heisman unless you play for like Louisville, a team that's not expected to win all their games.
I think right now who's being invited to New York is 4 people. It's Jaden Daniels, Penix, Nix, and Marvin Harrison Jr. Those are your 4 that's going to be invited to New York. But at this point, it's a 3-person race with Penix, Nix, and Harrison. And if you're going to give it to who's the best college football player in the country, call me Homer, but it's Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah. I think it also could have been Bowers had he not got hurt, but he got hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yep, but he got hurt.
Yep. But he got hurt.
All right. Another question. How much does Tommy being out affect your perception of the lack of run defense early?
0. The run defense issues were present when Tommy was in the game against Rutgers and Purdue and Penn State and Wisconsin. As I laid out the numbers earlier. Tommy Eichenberg is not, a lack of Tommy Eichenberg in this game is not the cause of Ohio State's run defense issues.
All right, a few more questions. Which freshman stood out the most to you?
I mean, we've talked a lot about Hartford in this.
In this game, yeah, it's Hartford. Hartford in this game, but as the season's going along, I'd say Tate. Tate's really been very stood out to me the most, but this last game, Hartford.
Yeah. Hey Gangland, does Hartford count because he's a redshirt freshman? Do red shirts count in this question, or do I have to name a freshman? Because I don't know how many freshmen even got like true game time aside from Tate. But yeah, I mean we've talked a lot about Hartford in this game, so I'll say Hartford.
Okay. Let's see. Does a Heisman quarterback win a game by throwing no passes in the second half?
Jeez. Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, I mean, people haven't seriously talked about JJ McCarthy as a serious Heisman contender since like the offseason. Like the Michigan offense is not a stat heavy offense, and you have to have stats to win the Heisman. I don't know what else to say. It's I wish it wasn't a stat based award, but it's a stat based award.
Yeah. And then that last one here, what is the record for missed? What is the record for missed field goals against Ohio State in a season?
I don't know.
I'm not going to be able to look that up in time.
That is a difficult look it up, Kyle. Look it up.
But I will tell you that for the season, there have been 6 missed field goals against Ohio State from opponents this year. They are 10 for 16 this year.
Oh, there you go.
Right, that's it, Jared. We are coming up on the hour mark exactly here, so we'll go ahead and end it right there.
All right. It's the only impressive special team stat. I don't even know how impressive it is, to be honest with you. I could say more about the special teams, but as Kyle said, we're up on that. Yeah, exactly. We're up on that mark. So I'm just gonna end the show. not even gonna kick over to Kyle's corner or do plugs. I'm just gonna straight up end the show, I think. The night's ending music is by Defiance, Ohio, who ironically is a band based in or was based in Columbus. I don't think they're still active. But Defiance, Ohio is the band. So with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. Once again, this is Defiance, Ohio.